If content alone created revenue, the founders posting 3 times a week will have predictable cash flow. They don't. Meanwhile, some founders are posting once a week and close faster with less resistance. So what's the difference? It's not effort. It's not consistency. It's belief. You don't have a content problem. You've just been skipping stages. In this video, I'll show you the 4 beliefs sitting between content and revenue and why most founders skip them entirely. Imagine a lawyer standing in a courtroom and saying, "My client is innocent. Let's move straight to the verdict." No evidence, no case, just pure confidence. The jury doesn't move, not because they disagree, but because the case hasn't been built. Verdicts don't come from confidence. They come from sequence. Evidence, logic, credibility, then conclusion. And most founders are asking for the verdict before building the case. Before someone invests, 4 beliefs have to click. That progression is what I call the authority to revenue sequence. Here's the sequence that your content must follow. The problem must first feel real. The problem must also feel costly. They must understand that their current approach will not fix it. And then, do you position yourself as the inevitable solution? So let's start with stage 1. The problem has to feel real. Most of your ideal clients already sense that something isn't working. They may not name it clearly, but they can feel it. And instead of investigating it, they normalize it because, well, it's tolerable. Intolerable is dangerous. Let me give you an example. A coach I worked with helped busy parents over 40 whose energy is declining and health markers are trending in the wrong direction. Nothing catastrophic has happened. They're still functioning. They're still productive. But their sleep is worse. Their weight is creeping up. Stress is constant. It's not really urgent, so they delay. I'll deal with it later, once things calm down. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't change until they're forced. As long as the friction is survivable, they convince themselves that it's sustainable. But trajectory compounds, whether you act on it or not. This is where most founders weaken their own marketing. If the problem stays comfortable, the buyer stays comfortable. And comfortable buyers don't accelerate decisions. Stage 1 removes the illusion that tolerable equals safe. Because once someone realizes, if I don't address this now, I will be forced to later, the problem becomes real. And until the problem feels real, every solution will feel optional. That's why founders tolerate 90 days of sales cycles that they hate because the cost still feels manageable. So ask yourself, are you helping your market see where this trajectory leads? Or are you leaving them comfortable enough to delay action? Because comfort is your real competitor. And comfortable buyers, again, they don't accelerate decisions. That brings us to stage 2. The problem just isn't real. It's costly. Let's make this practical. Say you're a business coach charging $10,000 for a 6-month engagement, helping consultants land consistent clients. You've closed deals in 30 days before, but lately, one deal takes 6 weeks, another takes 3 months. That unpredictability isn't just frustrating, it's expensive. A delayed close isn't just time lost, it's $10,000 sitting idle. When staying the same feels cheap, buyers take their time. They compare. They wait. They think about it. But when delay feels expensive, decisions accelerate. I've had clients show up already sold. The call wasn't persuasion, it was confirmation. And I've had others require multiple calls and extra explanations. The difference wasn't price. It wasn't the offer. It was belief. And the job of your video content is to do this math for your buyer before they ever get on the call. Because once the cost of staying the same outweighs the cost of change, sales cycles shrinks. Stage 3 is where most founders hesitate, because this is where you have to challenge the current approach, and that feels confrontational. So instead, most entrepreneurs educate. Let's use an example. Say you're a communication coach helping middle managers get promoted by strengthening how they communicate up and down the chain of command. A phrase I still use from my military background. Your audience already knows that communication matters. They already feel overlooked. They may even feel the cost, but they still believe that they just need to communicate better, be clearer, be more confident. If that belief stays intact, they won't hire you, because in their mind, their current strategy just needs refinement. Stage 3 is where your content must calmly reveal why that approach cannot produce the outcome that they want. If someone speaks to executive and their subordinates in the same exact way, that's not a confidence issue. It's a calibration failure. And that mismatch isn't solved with more effort. It's solved with a different approach. This is where most content quietly fails. It helps people execute a flawed strategy more efficiently. The worst thing you can do is make someone better at doing the wrong thing. If their current method still feels possible, your offer feels optional. That's why just be consistent doesn't solve it. Add more value doesn't solve it. More content won't fix what clarity would solve. If you don't destabilize the current approach, you become an upgrade to their strategy, not an alternative. And upgrades don't create urgency. Alternatives do. Before we move to the final stage, here's why this sequence gets skipped so often. Most founders don't build content around belief progression. They build around activity. They track views, they tweak thumbnails, they optimize hooks, but they rarely ask, what belief is this video responsible for? So they educate before urgency exists. They invite before the current approach feels insufficient. They ask for the sale before conviction is formed, not because they're incapable, but because no one taught them to think in sequence. And when you ignore sequence, revenue becomes unpredictable. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because you're relying on exposure, not alignment. And that brings us to stage 4. You become the inevitable choice, not because you posted more, not because you were louder, but because you built the case in sequence. Once someone understands what's wrong, what is costing them, why their current approach won't fix it, they stop browsing. They start looking for direction. And the entrepreneur who can clearly guide that progression becomes that direction, not through pressure, but through structure. That's what strategic video actually is. It's not random content. It's deliberate progression. One piece clarifies the problem. One raises the stakes. One dismantles the current path. One shows a better way forward. That's architecture. And when you build this way, something shifts. Sales conversations shorten. Objections shrinks. Inbound improves. Because by the time someone reaches out, they've already made the decision. You're not convincing them. You're confirming what they've already concluded. Together, that's the authority to revenue sequence. Ignore this sequence and revenue stays unpredictable. Build it intentionally and conversion become consistent. Most founders will hear this, nod, and go back to posting the same way. Don't do that. Watch this video next and map your sequence before you publish again. Because if you don't change the structure, nothing changes in your results. I'll see you there. Love.